Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
We got a camera out.
We have a camera on. It's Cody's. What do we do?
You have to restart Streamlabs, Scott.
Oh, no.
Was that up there a second ago?
It was.
It was, yeah.
So
I'm glad we got a tech guy on the podcast today.
The only thing you can do is restart Streamlabs, and which means the whole stream goes down. So we might just have to go without seeing Cody today.
That's okay.
I mean, it's your call.
What shall we do? Man.
Doesn't it just start back up?
Yeah, but anybody that's on, it's going to kill the stream. Then it's going to put a little swidget of a video on there, and it's going to come back on and give another one. So your call. I'm okay with whatever.
Go ahead and talk, Cody.
I could be like a ghost, man. I mean, just kind of coming in.
We could just make fun of him the whole time.
We'll ride with it.
All right.
We'll go with it. I'm sorry, Cody.
No, I'm
not. I think it's perfect.
Yes, I'm okay with this.
Well, good afternoon. That was a nice start for this podcast. Season 3, Episode 6 of the Van Dyke Mortgage WC Sports Podcast, brought to you by Durgan Insurance Group. We're live from the CatchMark Podcast room in our Whitehall office. I'm Scott DeCamp, one of the co-hosts of this show. I'm joined by Cody Cater. Believe me, he is here. You can't see him, but he's here. Hi, Cody.
Yeah, it's actually nice being off screen here, so it'll be interesting to see what thoughts come to mind.
It's kind of funny because Ken Byard is not here, but Cody is here. We can't see Cody. We can't see Ken because Ken's not here, but we do see. I don't know if we call him a guest or another co-host, Kara Raeth.
It's good to be back, guys. I got kicked off the podcast for better talent. And you guys have been doing a great job, but no, it's fun to be back.
Well, thanks. And we have a special guest today. She did show up, unlike Ken. She showed up. Her name is Kara Raeth. Thanks for joining us, Kara.
Yep, no problem.
She's the office manager for CatchMark Technologies, the girls varsity soccer coach at Montague, wife of Brent, mother of Connor, Owen, and Noah, and Milo, right?
Yep.
And then much, much, much more than that, too. So welcome.
Thanks.
So thank you for making the bold decision to come on the podcast. I know this is not necessarily your cup of tea, public speaking, being in the spotlight, etc., but I think this is going to be a really good one. What do you guys think?
If she stops swinging in her chair. She looks
I'm doing
a little
it,
nervous.
too. I'm setting the tone.
Get up to your microphone. Come on, sit up straight.
I'm interested. I can't wait to see and hear, the banter back and forth from husband and wife, and
I can't see him either.
It'll be interesting, yeah.
So we certainly appreciate you joining us, stepping out of your comfort zone. We also appreciate our sponsors. We need to thank them: Grieve Law, West Michigan Joint Divorce Lawyers, Big Stone Therapies, Green Ridge Realty with Chris Dykeman and Sarah Reel, North Grove Brewers, Foundation Systems of Michigan with John Botten, Coldwell Banker with David Dusenberry, who we expect to join us. He always does in the comments section, so we'll see him on there soon, I'm sure. Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We appreciate them as well. And then special thanks to our title sponsors, Van Dyke Mortgage Lakeshore. Their commitment to finding you the right home loan is second to none. Their experienced licensed team is ready to work with you to ensure a smooth and timely loan process from application to closing. You can find them at 460 West Western Avenue in downtown Muskegon, or give them a call at 231-332-6500. And then don't forget Durgan Insurance Group. They look at success through a different set of lenses. They place the relationship with their clients first. You can find them at 1535 Far Road in Norton Shores, or call them Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, 231-744-9106. And we want to ask, too, if you guys could please hit the like and subscribe buttons on our CatchMark SportsNet YouTube channel. And then make sure you like and follow all our other social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok. And then one more reminder, hit us up in the comments section. We'd love to hear from you in the YouTube comments section. We'll get to your questions, and it helps kind of keep things rolling. It adds just another element. So back to the guest of honor, Kara Raeth. I think we should have maybe Brent do an intro and
in this corner, weighing in at. Never mind, I'm not touching that one. I don't know. I think she should introduce herself.
Oh yeah, let's have her do that.
She's a strong, confident lady.
Well, what do you want to know?
Background. Where are you coming from? You're from Idaho.
I am. I was raised in Idaho.
This journey how did you end up where you're at now? That road.
Well, I joined the service just out of high school. I spent about half a semester at school and then joined, and that's where I met Brent when we were at our first duty station. And then he dragged me back to Montague.
What did you learn in that half a year of college?
That I did not want to go.
Garrett, you need to get up to the mic and stop swinging. All right. You get a lot of really bad echo.
She's like, who invited him?
I know. She's like, Scott, you are.
Where's Ken?
You were. You.
Where's Ken?
She didn't like you before for making her come on here, and now she dislikes you even more.
There's no way she's ever doing an interview with me after a soccer match ever again.
That is a great question, though. What did you learn? I've never asked you that. One whole semester?
I didn't really go. That's why I dropped out.
What made you choose to go to college for half a semester, or a semester, half a year, rather than choose maybe the military right out of high school?
Didn't even think about the military in high school. It wasn't until I needed to do something different other than college that I was like, oh, there's a recruiter. Let me go talk to them. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where at in Idaho?
Boise.
Okay. The Idaho 4. I'm away from the TikTok world now, but I thought I would throw that out there, like a major event in Idaho. Like when you are living, obviously not anywhere near Idaho at this point, but like when you hear of those things or saw those things, like on the obviously whatever social media platform you're using, but when you heard of those things, what did you think about? Like in the means of Idaho comparison to where you are now in the world?
Well, now it's not so weird to hear about it because the population has probably quadrupled since I left for high school. So there's a lot more people, but usually I always ask my mom kind of what's going on.
Right, just because you know people probably. Everyone knows one another in Boise or Moscow, or what are we doing here?
So Moscow's a long ways away from Boise.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay.
So you got. I think to bail Kara out here, and again, I'm going to remind her to stay up at her microphone so everybody can hear. It's a little bit like we lived on the east side of the state for a long time, and that side of the state, if that's where the only part of Michigan you saw, you really wouldn't get a true idea what Michigan's like. It's kind of how it is in Idaho too. Like Boise's like what, metropolitan size of Grand Rapids, maybe a little bit bigger. It's not a lot different than maybe living here, but you start getting up north a little bit and it's a little mountains and small town and
right. I mean, wherever I lived, I'm from Detroit. So if I'm down in Georgia, I'm like, oh, here's my buddy from Detroit, and I'm like, no, I'm
not even close.
Not even close to Detroit. And so I was trying to give Kara that, and then I think also the piece of like when even I was living in Cincinnati, they had no idea about West Michigan, and we're only a state away. So it was just they were thinking to themselves that I'm Detroit as well. So I was just wondering if there's a correlation or if there's anything up there where it's just like, hey, this was obviously a huge deal, nationwide, if that was a connection or something along those lines within the state or within you or within, anything along those lines.
No. I mean, like, the biggest thing I remember growing up is, like, the stuff from O.J. Simpson trial and the guy that lived there, the cop, and then the racists that all lived up there.
Yeah, right. they did. I mean, that's Ruby Ridge too, right?
Yep,
that all happened in Idaho as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to clue you in on a little something. Kara knows absolutely nothing about her home state. We've established this through our 20 years of marriage.
Right.
You ask her questions and she's like, stupid stuff that I don't know. Maybe Michigan does a better job of teaching Michigan history, but yeah.
You know a lot about sports, though.
She does.
So that's one of the reasons we wanted to get you on here.
Some sports.
So what's your background in sports? What did you grow up playing?
Well, basketball was my number one love my whole life. I thought I was going to go play in the WNBA.
And didn't love you back or what?
I don't know. I played all the way through middle school, and our middle school goes to 9th grade. So, and then I just started playing soccer, and that was the only thing I wanted to do. But I played tennis, track, volleyball, basketball, so...
Coaching volleyball now. Coaching, not volleyball, soccer or
maybe.
Volleyball.
Who knows?
Maybe she's the next one. But I mean, how'd you what got you into the coaching realm?
Well, when our kids were first playing, we coached a couple of rec teams together, And then it was just seeing, like going by and seeing the Montague girls teams play and knowing that they weren't doing things the right way. It kind of triggered me to like want to get involved and see what I could do.
I hope we don't have certain listeners, Kara.
Who are some of your influences in the means of like leadership, like coaches, male, female, in the world that you kind of look up to try to obviously pivot away from whatever, you're seeing, before you were a coach, and then, implement, these ideas, to your program?
Well, I did play indoor with a couple of ladies that coached girls teams, Grand Haven and Spring Lake, and so they kind of showed me what a successful program was, and then asking them questions throughout the years if I like have a question on how something should be done or what's the most important thing. Brent has always been a good mentor for leadership, so I always ask him questions about it, even though he hates soccer and doesn't want to answer.
I do not hate soccer. I love soccer, and I hate it at the same time, I guess. So I hate soccer in as much as I'm sure Cody's wife hates football.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's come springtime, that's all you're doing. And when she's not doing it, she's sitting on the couch ignoring me, writing down things on soccer that she wants to get done. So, yeah, just for the record.
Well, I think this is a good place. We're going to jump around. We kind of jump around on a podcast, but this is a good segue to. I think he's feeling he needs a little more love. Can you please maybe delve into that love story and how that blossomed?
Oh, good Lord,
when you guys were in the
Scott, you're
military?
not. No,
Just
that's not what this podcast is
the
about.
PG version of it.
It's not Valentine's Day yet.
Everyone wants to know.
PG version. My parents might listen to this podcast.
That's why I said PG.
Yeah, NC-17 at the Christmas party. Is that what it was?
Let's do
So
it.
how'd this happen?
Well, we were stationed at the same place in Germany, and there was a couple of classes that we were in together, a couple cleaning parties that we had to do where we met each other, but really the first time we talked was at a pub.
I spilled my drink all over. I'm not gonna lie. Dumped it right on her lap.
On purpose?
No,
Oh, okay.
I wish I was that smooth, Cody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that night, we just kept hanging out and never stopped hanging out.
But then you guys, Connor was born in Germany, right?
Correct. Yep.
So, your aforementioned 3 sons. So, you started beginning of raising your family there. And then, so what was that timeline then?
He was born, and probably 6 months later, I moved back
Mm-hmm.
to Montague. And then a couple months later, Brent moved back after he got a job.
Yeah. So we started dating, and we were engaged pretty quickly after that. I think then Kara got sent to Kuwait. She came home. I got sent to PLDC, which is a leadership development course, like a month-long course. It was about 3 hours away. She came to visit me the day I graduated, I think. And by the time I got back, she was gone to Kuwait again. And then she was in Kuwait for a few months, I think, maybe 3 or 4 months. I got deployed to Kuwait. We were going for an exercise. So our paths crossed for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I think, in Kuwait. The war started. She went to Iraq. And I stayed in Kuwait for about maybe another 2 or 3 months there, too. I went forward to Iraq, so our paths crossed again for about a month, then they sent her home. So she got to go back home, and I stayed in Iraq till September, October of that year, and came back to Germany. And we both took leave right away and went home. My little sister got married, and we got married a week after at the courthouse in Hart. And then that was like, what, October 22nd. We found out she was pregnant for Connor in December, I think, something like that.
It wasn't too long.
Yeah, it wasn't too long. And then he was born in September the following year. So we were still there for another year, I think. So he was born September. she came back in June of the next year, I think. So it was about another year. Or she came back in like April or May. I was set to go back to Iraq as a contractor. That was where the job was going to take us. The unit I was a contractor with was going back downrange. And so rather than have her sit in Germany by herself with Connor as a baby, she came back here. And I had a job I had applied for like 6 months before and frankly forgot about. Called probably like a month before I was getting ready to deploy. And they said, hey, we'd love you to come work in Detroit. And so it was a huge pay cut, but it was right at the limit of what I told her I would take, if I got offered. And so I came back, I took a month off, and we moved to Detroit to buy our first house. And we were there for 6 years after that, something like that.
And then what pulled you over back to this side of the state?
Well, he had some guys that started their own consulting business that asked him to come and work for him. So you did. He worked from home.
Yeah.
For like a month.
No, it was longer than that. It was about a year.
It was that whole time period flew by pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, it was about a year. We moved back in 11, I think. It was 2011. I turned them down the first time. They came and offered, so they worked for me in a cybersecurity auditing program, and were entrepreneurs and said, like, look, I think we can do some of this stuff and make money on our own business instead of being a contractor for the government. And they started their own thing. I thought they were crazy the first time, so I'm like, how could these guys like make it work, right? Like, I got a good government job. I got promoted. I moved very quickly, and the first time they called, I was like, yeah, I'm not taking it, no way. And they called again, and I was like, okay, can I live anywhere? And they said, yeah. And so
we bought his grandparents' house and lived there for 5 or 6 years.
Something like that. It all blends together. For a while, a little tiny house. It was weird. When I was a kid, it seemed like it was way bigger. And then you have 3 boys in it, and it's like, it gets small real quick. So, yeah.
Their story's probably a little different than yours, huh?
Yeah, very.
We don't have to get into yours or mine, but
if she knows where Kuwait is, and the means of the world, like, I think we're safe. We're in good shape. But yeah, that's entertaining. I mean, I think bringing it all back to Montague, what made you jumping in now, like, to the soccer piece? What made you want to become a head coach besides seeing a product out there on the field that you maybe didn't enjoy watching? But what made you really want to go, okay, I think I'm gonna devote a little bit more of my time and my life to this mission?
Well, when I started working at the high school, I was in the counseling office, and the current coach also worked in there, and he asked if I wanted to come and help assist him. And so starting to see kind of like how he ran his stuff and how it all kind of worked, and then I just felt like I could make a difference with the Montague program, knowing kind of where they were at and where I thought they could be.
Why do you think you could make a difference? Is that because of Brent on your side, or was it more along the lines because of your background in the military, or was it because of your play on the soccer field? Or soccer pitch.
Don't say booze.
Okay.
Kara hates those words.
All right. But is it because of those things? Like, why did you feel like you could make an impact?
Partly it was because of probably my background and knowing kind of how I grew up playing and the level. I do feel like the level we had in Idaho was a little bit higher.
Well, I think you got to explain too. Tell everybody the size of school you're talking about that you went to. I think when you say the level, it's a little off. Like, how big was your high school?
My graduating class was 500. So it's comparable to Muskegon, right?
I think Muskegon's like 900 kids total right now, right?
Yeah, that'd be closer to Mona Shores, or maybe even, I think Grand Haven's a little higher than that, but somewhere in between.
But we only had 3 grades. In our high school.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
freshmen could play, but they had to be really good.
Rockford, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not quite that big. But.
Right.
Yeah. So, I think that puts it into a little context. To make that team and to start on that team, that's a little different than, Cody, you and I have talked about that.
Right.
The level of athlete is just different. So, anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think that's important to point out.
Right.
So level of soccer.
Right. Yeah, the level of soccer. Okay, so when you were a sophomore, JV, varsity, where were you?
So, not to go into a longer story, but I actually dropped out my sophomore year. And so it was my junior year I played JV, and my senior year I was on varsity.
Okay, so your senior year you're on varsity, you get to see that, but level of play, yeah, how did that help you kind of, or mold you into wanting to become a coach?
I guess just seeing the ins and outs of what they were practicing, and what they were focusing on. And it was just different than what we focused on. We were very fundamental heavy, and I didn't see a lot of that, just understanding the game. And I played a lot of travel soccer, so those coaches as well, and we played spring and fall, just understanding how the game worked and what was important. And I thought I could bring that to Montague.
Well, we're learning all the time, all of us are, but think back to when you started coaching to now. How much have you learned, and what are the biggest things you take away from that?
I actually keep a note, a notebook for every single season of things I want to get better at for the next season, and then I basically write in that all year long, and then at the end I kind of summarize it and see what we can do. But
wait, do you pen and paper or what? I was going to say because
you tried to catch her. It's a digital notebook.
Yeah, because when I started here,
Right.
my
What is
reporter
a pen?
background,
Yeah.
I came in all, the notepads and pens and all that. I don't have any of that
It's
anymore.
been great, hasn't it?
It has been.
Yeah.
It's been liberating.
So, having been a guy that grew up playing soccer in the Montague area, and I think it's important to mention this because one of the first, and no offense to all the dads out there that coached our soccer teams, we had pretty good talent in soccer. But the first coach we really had that taught us soccer, and it wasn't just a bunch of athletes going out there and athleting, right, was Jeff Lohman. Jeff came back from the service. He was our U18 travel coach, and it's the first time we ever had anybody that really taught us about the game of soccer, why you want to possess the ball, why dropping it's a good. You don't always have to go forward, right? What's a run, how do you talk on the field, what all that stuff that looks like. And I think there's still, football is king at Montague, so you still have a little bit of that. We got good athletes, but understanding the game, I think was one of the things that Carrie used to come home all the time and ask me questions. I'm like, because you don't get that at Montague, right? And I think the programs are both going in the right direction now, but that's some of it too. So,
what are the biggest challenges as a coach now in this era?
I think a lot of people would say parents, but I actually think we have some pretty good parents. I've only had one or two cases where we didn't see eye to eye on things, but for the most part, they've been pretty great. For me personally, it's always building those relationships with the players, and I do, but it's only one or two a season where you really make a good connection. It's not everybody, so that's always the biggest challenge.
What made you want to do public school soccer instead of a club soccer? Be a coach at a club.
Well, the opportunity came up with the high school first, and you have to have less certifications to coach high school than you do club, and I didn't have any certifications.
What type of certifications are those?
Well, the high school one, you only have to have your cap training.
Oh, okay.
That's it. For travel, you have to have all the grassroots, and then depending on what level you want to get to, you have to make your way up the grassroots.
do they have any of that in football, Cody?
You do have the caps, yeah, for sure. And then I don't know. I live in a world. I was actually discussing this earlier today with a colleague, but we don't have as many club sports. For our sport.
That's for sure.
7-on-7 legacies, those types of things are being created, where clubs are being, obviously kind of get thrown into the mix. But I don't deal with AAU. I don't deal with club soccer. And then, there's probably 3 or 4 club soccer programs around here that probably think that they can do it better, than the other clubs, or do it better than our club is more important than, let's say your school and league and all of those kinds of things. So we live in a world that I don't have to deal with that as much. So I don't, maybe the certifications don't, really, I guess they're not created.
Yeah.
But I always find that because middle school is not offering soccer.
I think that's going to change here soon.
Yeah, and me
honest with
too.
you.
And
Yep.
and middle school is not offering baseball. Middle school is not,
Yep.
offering these other sports. So I always, if I were someone trying to get to the very top, of the coaching profession in this market, in the Muskegon market, I always thought to myself, like, if I was doing soccer or baseball, you might want to really actually look at the two
Club.
of those. Do you go club or do you go school? So I always wondered why, certain people chose certain routes, if it was just a belief system or what it was. But yeah, I mean, certifications, I mean, that matters for sure when it gets to that point. But yeah, I mean, living in Montague my whole life, I don't know a lot about soccer, but you can tell when there's talent, and you can tell when there's certain people who are, the hallways are talking about it because they're more, they're finding it more and more important and engaged, and there's more engagement in it. But I know that there has been that, through the hallways, with both males and females. So something must be going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think the game overall grew more quickly in the U.S. for females. I mean, their international success with World Cup victories and World Cup championships. So women's soccer in the U.S. has grown quite a bit more quickly. It doesn't have to compete necessarily with, football in the fall, right? Like you're in the U.S., the best athletes for the most part in the fall are going to go play football, right? Now you get to some bigger schools and bigger programs, and you see a bigger spread. There's just more athletes to choose from, and it doesn't always fit. But at a small school like Montague, that's always tough, right? I think women's soccer, you're competing with track and softball, and you can duel a little bit easier with those two sports as well.
Right. I think anything in the spring though for high school sports, like if you win
It's hard in Michigan.
if you win any type of championship, your culture is unreal.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much going on in the spring.
Well, and a lot of the girls that aren't playing, they've played something almost all year already, and it's very hard to keep them from getting burned out.
Right. You have senioritis. You have that piece of it that they might be burned out.
You got they just
Summer.
played for Coach Cater for the whole basketball season, and they're no.
Yeah. since July.
Yeah.
So you see things as a sports mom and as a coach. So we'll start as a sports mom. West Michigan Conference expansion. What have you seen? What are your opinions of it? Obviously, more road trips, right?
Manistee on a Tuesday
some
night.
later nights,
Including,
for sure.
right?
But I think it's good. I think anything that increases your level of competition is always good. I think they had the possibility, most of the basketball, sticking with who they're playing with. So it's not like they don't ever have a chance to ever win. They just have to decide if they want to get better and get to that level. For soccer, we were already trying to play all these people anyway. I mean, we have to find 18 games to play, so I was already trying to play Ludington, Manistee, all of them.
How's that going to change the outlook of the league, adding those schools, you think?
To soccer specifically?
Yep, for girls soccer.
I don't know, because I still think North Muskegon, is going to win a lot of games. I don't think Ludington girls are quite where Ludington boys are. We lost to them by 1 last season, so I think they're all winnable games. I don't think it's going to be too dramatically different. I think the top probably 5 or 6 teams are pretty comparable.
You know that this is going to get clipped by the Ludington coaches, and
Yeah, it's
play
going
this
to be
on a loop.
Bulletin
I didn't say they
board.
weren't good. I
know.
said they're beatable.
I'm just stirring the pot.
No,
No, that's
it's definitely getting clipped. I've learned my lesson.
So you played. I mean, you guys had OV. Who else from that group before they came into the conference had you played?
OV, Manistee.
Fremont or no?
Fremont we were going to play. We ended up not playing them. One that's not is Newego. They're always good one to play.
Yeah, you played them a couple times.
OV, we lost in the districts. Ones we're always going to add that probably won't ever come in our conference are Tri-County, Big Rapids. We played Reese Buffer last year.
Go Rockets.
Yeah, they were tough.
Speaking of, we
We did
got
not win.
we got a friend of the show, Timothy Miller, with the first comment.
What's up, Tim?
He goes, "Hi guys, any chance you guys might do some Reese Puffer games this coming season?"
Oh, Tim, I'm gonna take this one so Scott doesn't have to. So we are West Michigan Conference focused, and that's by design. We eventually would love to grow outside of that space. It's all about resources and scalability. So for a lot of the places around town, if resources and scalability, if we could do it, we would stream every single game we could, and we would be at every location we could. But you simply have to draw the line somewhere. And a lot of those bigger schools, I would say the Shores, the Muskegon, they're already fairly well covered with media. Reese Puffer as well. So we picked the West Michigan Conference because of the size, I think. Scott, anything to add there? I mean,
No, that's maybe in the future if we can get to that space, we'd love to do it, but we got to get to that point first. We're not, I guess, in that spot yet, but never say never for down the road.
Cody wins a state title, and we'll follow him.
We're front runners.
I'll make that. I'll make that commitment, Cody.
All right, so
good?
you heard it here first.
He's gonna clip
DeCamp's
that
going to
now.
be like, gosh, I got like 50 more games.
He's gonna
Yeah.
clip that out now.
Yeah.
But
That's
he
going to be
is.
clipped.
Yep.
But yeah,
More coverage.
good question though. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of people that, I mean, we've got inquiries online
Mm-hmm.
about that often, and like, hey, how come you're not coming to Muskegon Catholic, or how come you're not at Shores or Fruitport, or it's not because we don't want to be there. It's just because you got to draw a line.
I will say that was hard for me. That was different
Oh,
because
Scott, yeah.
when I got here, it's all of a sudden, it's my first few weeks here. It's like, all right, we got to get ready to cover the Mona Shores Muskegon game. And Brent's like, we're covering the West Michigan Conference. And we went and did it. And I think we did some nice stuff, but it wasn't.
did.
But then when when you look back at it after you kind of get your feet wet here, you're like, oh, okay, I see you kind of understand the vision and where we're going here.
Scott was a wild stallion when he first came. It was tough to get him to to buy into that for sure. But I think it's the right decision. I mean, sometimes not always popular. And again, I wish we could do everything. But you definitely have to draw a line. And, we knew the conference was expanding on top of that. So we knew, okay, we had a year or two to kind of burn this stuff in, figure it out a little bit. The conference was going to organically get bigger. So we were going to have better coverage or more coverage responsibilities. But yeah, in the future, I think we would definitely take it on if it was something that we were ready to do and enable. But,
Yeah, I mean, I think every conference should have your guys' website. I mean, at the end of the day,
thanks.
like I know I'm going to plug that in there, but it is one of those. It is nice to go check up on a Wednesday night, on a Tuesday scores, like just to be able to see who's who and what everyone's kind of producing throughout, because not being in the mix anymore as a girls basketball coach, I have no idea,
what's going on
in with males or female sports. So I mean, I think if every conference just had a central hub like that, and didn't have to go through 5 different resources to get 10 different scores, that would be something that
you just want a fog machine video like the guys got busting through.
Jeff Burrell got one.
Jeff Burrell got one. He kiboshed the whole afternoon. We can't expand out to the bigger schools because Jeff's fog machining every afternoon. But
He goes, let me redo that. Come on.
yeah, no.
So speaking of, we have a female on the set. What are the differences between coaching
That's a
boys
good
and
question.
girls? I'd love to hear Kara's thoughts on that too.
Well, I made a an uneducated comment when I first got hired when I was 23 as the girls basketball coach. I said, basketball is basketball, and I think I even told the Scott DeCamp that. I told someone that, and which is I guess at the foundations is true, but I think when it comes to motivating and when it becomes to culture, those things can be hard to kind of manage in the grand scheme of like, hey, they're both the same. Culture wise, I think they're motivated and they're ambitious by different things, and then males and females. but I can say from a male standpoint, coaching males is a lot easier. Like through my experience, coaching females, I think it took me 2 or 3 years to finally figure out how to speak, how to I guess see big picture, and then also how to present myself, in certain ways so that I was approachable rather than being this big mean coach. So I think looking back on those experiences, yeah, I mean it is different. The foundation is the same, I think, in just in the competitive piece of it, but I loved coaching girls in the means of like the off the court leadership, building characteristics, that they dove into that, and they enjoyed those conversations a lot more than males. Males were, hey, let's roll the balls out and let's I'm better than everybody else, and let's just compete and then or complain because I'm not competing. And then females were, hey, I want to work on honesty. I want to work on being trustworthy. I want to work on these things. I want to be a quality teammate. I want to be, that part of it was, because I wasn't good at that. So that was a more enjoyable for me personally, be able to kind of get into the roots of that. But, if you get a good group, it is about the Jimmys and Joes a little bit. You get a good group, it's very important to be able to find a way to, make sure that you get the best out of that. Those humans when they're together, no matter if it's male or female.
So you live in a house full of males and you coach females. Is there merit to what he's saying?
Yeah, for sure. I did help Brandon coach the varsity boys. I thought boys were harder, and I think it's more of like you got to come in like super confident and like demand like a certain level, and I wasn't used to that with a bunch of boys.
Yeah, the boys will eat you up. I mean, I've seen that. Even at Reese Puffer, at Montague, at Tiff County, especially at Tiff County, because I was this northerner coming down. What did I know about football? What do I, you guys don't play football up there, type of thing. And I felt that for the first time in my life. That like they don't, I obviously believe like
they had to gain trust or
they don't really care about you unless they know how much you care about them. I believe in that, but I found out the hard way down there that there's a lot of work in that to make sure that obviously is put onto the table so they can see it. But I do agree that the males will eat you up. The females, they want to kind of be taught, they want to learn, more than I guess, a group of males do together collectively.
I think the X's and O's are easier with boys because they're wired that way, right? Like, but I think the culture stuff, that stuff is easier. It's easier to, like you said, Cody, the girls buy in. I have the first coaching job I ever had, Jamie Palais, who was a gym teacher at Montague for years. I was maybe 2-3 years out of high school. I wasn't very old. I might have been 20, right? And she asked me to coach 7th grade girls. And I'm like, I came at it the same way you did, Cody. I'm like, it's basketball. It's X's and O's, right? Like, it should be pretty easy. The very first game, I came in the locker room, and I didn't feel like I raised my voice. Like, I didn't feel like I yelled. Every single girl in the locker room cried. Tears. And I'm like, I didn't even know what to do. Like, I had never experienced that from, now I had sisters, but like the women in my family are really tough, and they, but like, I was just like, I don't even know how to respond to that in the locker room. Like, I don't know what to do now. Like, and I'm just standing there like, okay, I got to get these girls ready to play. How do I get them to stop crying? And like, it was really, really, really interesting and really eye-opening. I did that for 2 years. I did the 7th and the 8th grades 1 year. And it was just a completely different thing, I think. One thing I think you can tell with boys and girls, like you walk into a gym or a soccer field or football, and boys are always trying to kick it as hard as they can, as far as they can. And the girls are usually trying to socialize and talk and figure out their passing, like what's the best way to do stuff, right? And like, it's just a different thing. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, but because of that too, you end up having a lot more drama with girls, and it's hard to get them to like not get engulfed by it, and like not to obsess over it, and let's just focus on this over here. We don't need to focus on a girl giving you a sideways look. Like you don't get that with boys.
That's something you do, I think. Cody was like that.
Yeah,
You look at him funny on the basketball court.
I still do. Yeah, watch the way that you look at me. Sarcasm. But I think like with that piece, immaturity, just based off of just like where they're at youth wise, like freshman, sophomore. Because I had 4 freshmen up one time, and during that experience, that was a really rough year, and there's a lot of he said, she said, throughout that entire year. And I just remember reflecting back on it and being like, wow, is this really what girls basketball is all like? That was my second year coaching. Like, this is terrible. If I can't figure out a way to capture, their heart and in the means of like, I guess just like basketball pursuit of excellence, I'm probably going to have to like probably step away. And I just remember having that conversation. Then when I had like with myself and I had like 7 or 8, like I had 7 seniors one year, 6 seniors one year. And the 7th was kind of acted like a senior, so yeah, we'll give her 7. But we had so many seniors that year, and it was modified drama, I guess you would say. Like there was still drama, within, but it just wasn't as a high of a magnitude that they won't be able to participate under the team, but there was just way more drama even then, than I guess I would say even comparable to the really good football teams at Montague that I had a chance to be a part of. But I've been a part of average teams too, and above average teams that are, there's a lot of drama filled. So, I mean, maybe like I've always tried to correlate that. Like, if there's a lot of drama here, we're pretty average. If there's not a lot of drama, either we don't care, we're on that end of the spectrum, or we're on the spectrum where we have a sense of maturity, within our team. But I can definitely attest that there is going to always be drama, though.
I would almost wait, and I'll probably take some heat for this, but if you can win a female player's heart and her mind, I think she's got more grit than a lot of boys do. Like she'll run through a wall for you, and like yes. That is a little different. I think boys always look at you with you're a little sus to them all the time, to use a kid's term, right? Like. Mm-hmm. No matter how good a coach you are, no matter how much that relationship, you're always kind of like, and girls are just a lot more like and it's harder to get there, I think, but once you do, it's good. But I think Scott's original question was, what's it like being in a household dominated by men or boys?
I guess I was meant for it because it seems like it's normal.
Yeah. You shouldn't know any different.
Like teenage girls would freak me out because I know how that can be, like just hormones and craziness. I think
I was going to
boys
say, you're welcome to come over anytime. We got
Scott's living it right now. Yeah. The house stinks, not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
They're dirty and gross.
They're dirty and gross. And not all boys are like this. I just think a majority of them are. Like if something stinks in your car, it's one of them usually. I mean, I don't know. Kara's she's a good boy mom though. I mean, she doesn't take any crap. She's good at what she does. So
changing the subject real quick, we have another comment here, and this is a person we might know.
Amy.
Is it from Ludington?
No, it's not.
Not yet.
It's from over across the hallway.
Amy Yonkman. She wants to know, Kara, what's your most embarrassing moment as a coach?
Embarrassing. It's all embarrassing. No.
You probably, while she's thinking about this, you probably should have led this out by explaining that Kara does not, and when I tell you she does not like being in front of people, she'll cut you to not be in front of people.
But I'm trying to grow.
She is. She'd push you down. So like anytime, I remember when she first started coaching, Andy would come over to talk to her and she'd run. I'd watch her. I'd be standing up. Andy Roberts, like he'd come down to talk to her and she'd go
run.
I'd watch her go the opposite direction. And so that she wouldn't have to talk to him.
Well, that's kind of embarrassing, maybe.
Yeah. I would say my first couple interviews with him were probably a little embarrassing.
It's not natural, though. Like, I try to remember that, but it's easy to forget it when you're interviewing coaches even. But especially the kids, they're not used to that. It's not what you'd say natural. Although kids now are more used to it because of social media.
Yeah, they're way more
used to being-
comfortable.
They're used
Yeah.
to being out there. They enjoy it, I think.
Yeah, and time and
the most
place too. You know, when those interviews are occurring. You know,
Yeah.
like I've been pretty caught off guard many a times
Yeah.
where, you know, I was maybe a little, you know, rigid, I guess you would say in
You?
my
I
in
wouldn't guess
my
that.
conversations after the game, but or whatever that is. But yeah, no, those are coaching is, you know, we're out there. We're putting ourselves out there. It can be very embarrassing at.
So we
at
were
times.
talking about you're talking about growth. Go
I
ahead.
got a presser on that. That's the most embarrassing thing you've had happen in coaching. Oh, Karen.
I don't know what else there would like. We
She's-
lost. Okay, I'm not really embarrassed about a loss.
All right. Well, okay. I'm not gonna press anymore. So
All right, I'm going back to the more serious topics now.
Uh-oh.
So you're talking about growth, and I think growth and leadership, those are things that we talk about a lot here at CatchMark. And one of the books I think you've probably already read, or you're in the middle of Mindset. Did you finish that one? So that talks about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset, all those things. Leadership, what have you learned here, I guess? And maybe even going back to your time in the military, what have you learned in the way of leadership and about how important that is to have that in place?
Well, I think if I look back at the military, I was not the greatest a soldier, and I didn't really lead a whole lot. But I did learn a lot from bad leaders. You definitely pinpoint the ones that are good, and then understanding why there's a process for everything, and following that process, and how important it is to stick to those things.
To establish a process and then follow it every time?
Yeah.
Yep, that's what I'm looking at you.
I agree.
What did
It
you?
does make it easier. It simplifies things. I can say that.
What did you like from the good leaders? Like, how did you know that they were good?
People just did what they said, and they didn't ask questions. They just fully trusted them, and I didn't really know why. I couldn't pinpoint it back then, but obviously they were building trust with people for whatever reason. But the ones that everybody questioned, never wanted to do anything for or go out of their way for, you knew something was wrong with them.
So you would say trust would be a pillar in your guys' program.
Right.
You know, like how you can build trust. Like we copied it maybe as military, but we used it off the Navy SEALs. We caught it from them. Like trust and performance go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have our graph in our locker room and everything that says, hey, we're going to take the person we trust more than we take the person who performs well.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, so that's interesting because I still don't know why I like certain coaches when I was growing up and why I didn't like other coaches. I always reflect on that probably every other day, I would guess. Why, why do I not like that leader or like that leader? So that's interesting.
I think for me, it's all about leadership motive. I think the ones that often struggled have the wrong motive. They're not servant based. They're rewards based. They're the person that they're trying to get something out of it, and
It's about them as opposed to...
you can actually not be a great, what I would say, X's and O's leader, but still be a good leader with the right motive. And I saw some people that really struggled at being knowing what to do in certain circumstances. But if I could have grace with some of those people because I knew, while I may not have agreed with the action they took, I definitely knew that they did it because they cared about me and they weren't trying to get something out of it. And now the really great ones get the X's and O's and they go that direction too. And I think that motive is what builds trust, right? That genuineness, right? If your players think you're only doing the coaching thing for you, you're not I don't care who you are. You're gonna you'll be successful in short-term situations, but long-term, that you'll really have a hard time because they'll never believe what you're saying is the best thing for them. That's, I think, and everybody likes to use the military. There are great leaders and there are very, very poor leaders. And, the military structure gives you the ability to sometimes be a really poor leader and actually be a leader. Whereas here or in the private sector, oftentimes I'm not saying that bad leaders don't exist and they don't stay there. But they'll often be gotten rid of if they're not. once you're kind of a sergeant in the military or an officer, you're there. I mean, like, you're going to be continually put in these positions to do this stuff, even if you're not good. So, yeah.
How do you build trust within your program?
Well,
Man, you got good questions, Cody.
Why do you think we keep?
I know,
coming
he's
back each
good.
week?
He's good.
That's why he ghosted me.
He's
man.
why he ghosted you. Cody's head's too big. It doesn't fit on the camera anymore, so that's why he's a black square.
The ugliest guy on the deal, man. Let's take it off.
I think building trust starts with showing your vulnerability with the players, sharing like your feelings with them, being there for them, just being a good example to them. That starts it. I'm still working on how to build that better, but
I mean, I think you're doing a great job, because when Emma Flynn's going, Kara said this and Kara said that, and I'm like, who is Kara? Like, because I only knew her Coach Rath.
Yeah,
you know, who is Kara? Coach Rath. Oh, well, okay, all right. We'll continue to listen. I know soccer is your number one, but like, I knew things were turning, a little bit within that program when I was hearing that.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do here at CatchMark. I mean, generally speaking, she's the glue that holds it together, and things would fall through the cracks if it wasn't for her. Would you agree?
I completely agree.
He's got to go home with her.
No, Kara knows.
No.
Yeah, Kara
No,
knows.
seriousness.
I'll be honest with her about stuff. But yeah.
come in my office.
Yeah. Truth be told, I've made her cry a couple times at work. So that, not proud of that. But
Jeez, you've been doing it for a long time now, making girls cry.
She cries. She cries pretty easy sometimes.
Got that gift.
That's like her defense mechanism.
Yeah,
Like,
jeez, oh Pete, since
That's a good
2000, until
I know,
now,
terrible.
Yeah.
making girls cry.
Terrible.
Well, my primary job is to do office management, which involves finances, making sure the office is put together, making sure people come out and fix it if they need to, planning parties, making sure it stays clean, organizing things, sending out emails.
You so undersell stuff. Like, so I'm just gonna
Check the mail.
Stop.
Open the door.
I think that there's a lot of basically that I would not be where I'm at without Kara. And so I've told her this numerous times. I don't know that she always believes it, but everything that we've done, and I do say we, at CatchMark or in our life together, is a direct result of just the best team that you could possibly be part of. And for anybody that doesn't have that, I don't know how they do it, because she's underpaid, she's overworked, she does more than she's asked. She covers for me any chance she has, and she rarely ever complains about it. And it's allowed me to be and to do some things that have been really great. And in turn, I mean, part of the reason why I wanted to have her work here is because I think she's a great teammate. And, I started politicking for her to come work here well before she was ever ready to leave the athletic secretary job or athletic assistant job over at Montague. I was like, why aren't you working here? We could use your help. And things that she does, things that she has done. I've signed us up for 5 gazillion different things that Kara attends. She's not social. She doesn't like being out in front of people. Not only does she go, she does her best to have a good time. Oftentimes she's left helping me set things up, tear things down. She's involved in almost every decision that's made here. You guys might not know it, but like, there is nothing that I don't run by Kara and say, hey, what do you think about? And she's completely undersells it all. Like, I open doors and I do emails and finances. It's just ridiculous sometimes to listen to. So anyways, I talk too much, but she's amazing. And what she does for us is the glue that keeps it together. She really is.
No, it's 100%. And I would back that up from what I've seen, everything I've seen. Ultimate team player too. And both of them are, because, I mean, they're doing their things here and then they're at games, their kids' games, and hey, do you need any photos, any videos? And they do it without question every time. So.
Not without question. She did sign me up for some soccer pictures I gave her crap about for the entire soccer game. So
from my end of it, it seems like it's...
Yeah, she had your back there, Scott. I was
Yes.
going to leave you hanging. So.
As a soccer husband, what are your duties then? If she's doing all of these, like how are you accompanying this?
So honestly, I'm going to tell you, I stay away from games. I can't go and listen because, well, I just think overall parents are fairly toxic. And like I look at all the varsity coaches and everybody knows better. So I stay away from games, Cody.
Man, so like, much for that feel good show we had.
I will park on the side and I watch all her games if I can. Right. I do anything that she needs me to do. She's talking this year about wanting to do some huddle stuff, and I volunteered to take care of that for her. The reason her games are live streamed is because she wanted them live streamed, and I do get a little bitter about soccer at times. I sometimes tell her that's her church when we drive by, or she loves it more than she loves me. But so those comments have been made. But any way that I can help her be successful, encourage her, lift her spirits. She talks to me about strategy all the time. I volunteered to go help her, but she doesn't want me anywhere near the field. But she comes home all the time and asks me, like, what do you think about this? Or what did you see? I will do anything to help her that she needs me to do. And I only will get in as involved as she wants me to get involved. So
it's not that I don't want him there. It's just that it's natural for me to want to relegate the leadership portion to him. And I feel like it would.
I agree with you.
Swap.
Right. No, for me, it's nice to going home and not talking football. Only saying my perspective. I don't need to hear yours. Let me just unload, my thoughts, So, I think that's a very healthy relationship. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's, but the parent thing, the stands thing.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yeah. I think that's my wife and my parents have been doing it for 8 years now, and they're, they've learned to have some thick skin.
Well, and since Kara's become a coach, I think it's made me a better spectator because, I think anybody can get up there and be like, I wish Cody wouldn't have called that play, or I wish and you having that other perspective. I think I'm just like, they're doing their best, and not everything works out. You can train a kid all week, and then they go out and do the exact opposite of that you talked about. So I think that's helped a little bit for me too. I've grown, but go ahead, Scott.
How special is it to do this and do what you do, not just at CatchMark, but living in this community, just to do that here?
I don't know. I don't have the Montague ties growing up here the same way a lot of these guys do, but it is important to give back, and I don't think I was always sold on that when I first moved back or when we first started doing stuff until you start seeing the reactions of people and you see that what you're doing is helping in some way. Mm-hmm. I think that has been good.
I wanted to move to North Muskegon, believe it or not. She wouldn't let me leave Montague. It wasn't because I love North Muskegon more than Montague. That'll never happen. But there was a property opportunity that I thought would have been a good move. But
Reese Puffer School District?
No, it was right. It was right on Ruddiman. It was right on Ruddiman. No.
Okay.
Just because you're sitting in Ken Byard's seat doesn't mean
I
you have
don't.
to go all north on it.
We would have school of choice the kids.
To Reese Puffer.
No.
Gotcha. Go Rockets.
I don't think any of my kids are big enough to play at Reese Puffer, to be honest with you.
We need kickers.
But
all right. Well, that's gonna about wrap it up. Any parting shots, closing thoughts?
Kara, you love talking. You can't just smile the whole time.
No, I thanks for having me. It was fun.
Awesome. I would say, Cody, I am impressed with your line of questioning. I think it's pretty cool. I think you ask a lot of really good questions. And I do listen to the podcast sometimes, but I'm kind of doing 50 other things. And I just want an opportunity. I give Cody crap all the time. To see what he's doing. And to hear kind of how he's grown up and the stuff he's doing, I'm proud that you're from Montague and you're one of us. So, and now this is on air and it's part of the record, so I have to own it in the future. And I would say the same thing about you, Scott. You're not a Montague guy. You are from Ravenna, so we're going to have to
Got to bring some
overlook
balance
that.
to the equation here.
But just watching you grow, it's one of the highlights of my career, like watching people get better. I think
Appreciate it.
awesome.
It's a process, though.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Without going down the rabbit hole, even today, I got into my triaging of my emails. We talked about this morning. My email account's a mess, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
How many in your inbox, Scott?
You don't want to know.
You won't surprise me.
You'll know because you probably can see it, right?
The all-time, no, I don't. I don't do any tech work.
1,800.
Oh, that's not even close. Mr. Blau, who's my partner, 27,000
Oh my God.
and 500, something like that.
No, they're mostly opened. Because I got to know. There's
Yeah.
some of them that they're
Right.
1,800 is
spam or
manageable.
whatever.
He had 27,000 emails and 23,000
Yeah.
were unopened, and I'm like, what did all those people want?
Right.
So no, I mean
got
it's part of it.
I'm trying to declutter right now, though.
Right.
So
Right. No,
trying
I
to get there.
appreciate. I appreciate the shout out. That means a lot coming from you. And I think that's sometimes you lose sight of those kinds of things. And I'd like to say just even where this is taking off. So
Good.
It's nice to see what you guys are doing and like I said, jumping on a website and being able to get all the information is I think every casual viewer like myself wants. And it's nice to see the content that you guys are putting out there as well. So.
appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of things we do here at CatchMark. Obviously, that's just a small part of it. Obviously the tech is the number one thing, but we got a lot of things we're doing here. But on that topic, we want to thank our sponsors, Grieve Law, Big Stone Therapies, Green Ridge Realty with Chris Dykeman and Sarah Reel, North Grove Brewers, Foundation Systems of Michigan with John Botten, Coldwell Banker with Dave Dusenberry, Scheid Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, and our title sponsors, Van Dyke Mortgage, Lakeshore, and Dirk Insurance Group. That'll do it for Season 3, Episode 6 of the CatchMark Sports Podcast. Thanks again for joining us, Kara. Appreciate it.
Yep.
You did a good job.
Thanks.
So you want to make this a weekly thing, or
No.
are you good? You good? All right. Thanks to my co-hosts, I guess.
Yeah, no,
Call you
it was
co-host,
great to be
co-guest.
back, guys. Great to be back.
Hope you enjoyed this episode, everybody. See you next week. Have a good one.